Let's talk about now how to draw in Pattern CAD. When you open up Pattern CAD, you have your canvas or your different layers that are right here, but then you're going to want to start drawing. And there are two different ways to draw with Pattern CAD. By default, it's on this method that's right here. I want to draw your attention to this area right here, what we call with your nodes on. And how you turn them off, let me just show you. You click on that button and then you'll not have any numbers in there, and that would be considered nodes off. So let's turn them back on for the moment, and let's not worry about the number that's in there for right now, but let's just draw a simple line. So we're just going to draw. You left click and then you draw. When you unclick the button, you'll notice that you don't have, it doesn't draw anymore. I want you to now make sure that continuous line is checked. I want you to draw another line, but make sure you start away from where this one is. So I want you to see what it does. So now if I start drawing someplace else, notice that it's going to connect my stop point right here and to where I'm beginning again. And if I were to go into optimize, it has joined that line. It wants to make a continuous line. That's what that function does. I'm going to say, okay. So this is what we call with your nodes on, and I want you to notice kind of what QCT has done. You haven't had to lift up your mouse or whatever device that you're drawing with. You left clicked and you just drew. You watch on your screen, and whatever your mouse did, it drew the same thing on your screen for you. And you did not have to pick the distance that these nodes or these little circles, you didn't have to pick the distance that they're on. Now, if you're not seeing any nodes right now, make sure that this function is on. Say in the last section, we may have turned it off, and if you didn't turn it back on, you might not see those nodes. So what I want to talk about is the distance between these nodes. When you are drawing in QCT, what it is doing in this mode with your nodes on, it is actually drawing a straight line by default. These are actually straight lines, and it is just making little teeny line segments and joining together. That's what every single one of the nodes is. It's joining these segments together, and it is picking the distance between these line segments. And to prove to you that these really, in fact, are line segments, I'm going to do something. This is really a little bit of editing, but I'm going to point to a left click. Oops, let me turn this off. I'm going to say undo right here. I want to turn off the continuous lines, and I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to pull apart. I'm not going to select anything. I'm just going to pick a random point and I'm going to pull on it. Now let's go to optimize. There you go. So now you can see that now this line has a start and a stop, and then this one has a new start and a new stop. Well, that's because really what has happened, okay, is that each one of these points, let me see if I can separate it all together. There we go. Now I can separate one all together, optimize. Each one of those nodes is its individual line. And what QCT is just doing is joining those nodes. And as you're drawing, it's evenly spacing those nodes to make a longer continuous line. And each one of those segments, though, has its own start point and stop point. And to make them so that it's continuous, you have a start point at one node and then a stop point right here, and then a new start point right on top of it, and then a stop point. And that's how it's joining those segments together to create a longer continuous line. And then when you have whatever you have on your actives, and we're on the top layer of the active screen, the ultimate start point is right here with the green circle, and the ultimate stop point has the double red circle right here. So let's X out of that, and I want to draw this line again. We're going to turn that off, and we're going to go back to the draw menu right here. I'm going to say continuous lines. I'm going to make sure that it's in line this time so that what I am drawing when I'm drawing with the nose on here, it is really a straight line, because whether you realize it or not, you are drawing with different line types, even when you're drawing with your nodes on. So let's just draw a line, and you'll line just like this. And we can see that our line spacing is at 4. And I think this is going to help with understanding what all this means. So I want you to check the box if you're following along. So when I click inside that box, this box comes up and I can put a number in there. I'm going to put in 10. I'm going to say, okay. Now again, because my stop point is right here, wherever I bring my arrow, it's going to automatically join this. So I'm going to start drawing again, and I'm just going to try and echo what I just did. Now, with those spacing at 10, my nodes, the line segments, are further apart, just like that. So again, with my continuous line still checked, I'm going to bring it all the way down using my minus button to 1. So 1 is the smallest that you can have. The bigger you are, the bigger the number, the more spaced apart these nodes are. And the smaller they are, the smaller number, the closer they are together. So then again, it's going to automatically join this line for me. It's going to join it. So I'm just going to pick a point. I'm going to try and echo that line so I can show you. Now they're much closer together. And so when we go to optimize, it's made it a continuous line. Okay. So when you are drawing with your nodes on, you are not picking the distance between the nodes, and you are just essentially like freehand drawing. Whatever you're scrolling along or moving along with your mouse, it's just joining and doing all of this work for you. That's with the nodes on. So let's try it the other way with your nodes off. So I'm going to X out and clear everything off my screen. And how I can know my nodes are off is I'm going to click on this button. And then when there is nothing in this box, that means I am no longer drawing with my nodes on. So I'm going to draw with a line first. And I think I want to show you what each one of these lines looks like. And then this will also help you figure out what I'm talking about with your nodes on and your nodes off. So you're going to left click again, and let's just try and draw a square. So I'm going to left click. I'm going to go a couple of boxes, and I'm just going to stop touching my mouse, and it ends where I lift up my finger for the mouse. So now I'm moving my arrow, but I'm not clicking on anything. So I'm free to move. But when I'm in this mode without the nodes on, I can just bring and continuous line is selected. I can just bring my mouse to where I want that line to go and tap. And I'll bring it back over here and tap. And bring my mouse over here, or my pointer, using my device, bring my pointer up to that and tap again. So you can see now QCT is not evenly spacing these. I am picking where these line segments are going to go. Now this is with straight lines. This is what I mean, that it's more like dot to dot drawing. So let me close this or erase it. Let's see what a spline looks like. I'm going to draw 2 lines. There's my first line. Now I'm just going to move my pointer and tap. There's my second line. I want to go to edit because now I need to shape that line. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to say select and select all. And now my handles that I've been talking about have appeared. So now to shape this line, I'm just going to left click and drag the boxes to direct that line where I want it to go. So now you can also, we have selected our endpoints, but you can also select these handles. And it's very different when you select your handles. In order to see what they do, you have to select at least 2 of them. So if you're drawing a line along and you start to edit and you have one box accidentally get selected, don't worry. It doesn't really show you, it really doesn't have a function unless you select 2 boxes. If I select 2 boxes of the handles at the same time, and I just drag on one of them, it is going to drag those boxes at the same time in the same distance. I could also do that with all of them. They're all selected. They'll all move at the same time. Then I can unselect all. Unselecting removes everything, and it unselects those boxes. I can say select all again. Those handles reappear. And again, if I'm just moving one of the boxes, it controls only one. So again, with each line segment, you have 2 handles for a spline. So I'm going to erase that. Let's see what an arc looks like. So I'm on draw, I'm going to choose arc. I'm going to do 2 lines again. I'm left clicking. Now I've let go. Now I'm just going to move my pointer and tap. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to say select all. And now I have 2 handles and 1 for each line, not 2 for each line. So I'm going to left click. And as you can see, this is a circular shape. You don't have to make a circle, but it has 1 apex. I can't drag it this way or that way like I did with a spline. I can only move it like I'm going to make a circle. It only has, the handle is going to be exactly in between the 2 endpoints. And so it would make a circle if I wanted to, but it's circular in shape. And I can do these lines separately, or I can select them both and move them at the same time. Let's see what a parabola looks like. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to go back to draw. I'm going to select parabola. I'm going to draw 2 lines. I've left click. I'm going to release. I'm just going to tap for the second one. I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to say select all. So again, we only have 1 handle, but this time I can shift the apex of this curve back and forth in a way that I could not with the arc, but it is only 1 handle. So I can make a lot of different shapes with this. There we go. Again, if I were to select them both, I can move them at the same time. That's what that feature does. I'm going to erase this line. Another drawing tool is when you have snap to grid on. So go ahead, if you're following along now, click on snap to grid, and I'm going to show you in the other method of drawing. So I'm going to go to draw, and I'm going to turn the nodes back on. I'm going to put my spacing at 4. And now I'm going to try and draw a circle. And watch what happens. You're going to see it's very dramatic. I can't really draw a curve because my line is going to want to find a grid point. That's what it means to snap to grid. So if I try and draw a circle here, and now let me make my nodes invisible so you can see what I've drawn. It only wants to go to these grid points right here. And so if you're going to be drawing curves, that's not such a good thing. But let's turn my continuous lines off. If I was looking to draw with the nodes on straight lines, this would be very helpful, and that would be much easier to draw a box. And that's okay that it did that. I'll show you editing next with a straight lines with the snap to grid on. And fixing little boo-boo like that isn't any problem. Let me turn my nodes on, and I'm going to go to edit. And all I'm going to do is let me zoom in a little bit, scroll on over there. I'll select these 2 nodes. I'm going to say, I'm just going to try and drag them. There we go. I dragged it, and it wants to snap back up to that line. So if I zoom out and turn the nodes off, oops, it wasn't quite done yet. So let's go back. My node's on. Now we'll center this. There we go. We'll bring these lines up. It doesn't want to do that. I may need to delete that line. There we go. And bring these up. Unselect this line. Pattern CAD likes to do unexpected things, I can tell you. I'm going to say unselect everything. I'm just going to join this by selecting this node. I'm just going to pull it over to that one. There we go. And so it wants to snap. It might have more than 1 line segment now. Let's look. The square does not, but we would have 2 line segments because they're not joined. That's what we would be expecting. So let's see what snap to grid looks like when we draw with the other way. So I'm going to erase everything. I'm going to go to draw. I'm going to turn off the nodes. And if I have snap to grid still selected, it will be very easy for me to start drawing straight shapes. So there we have just 1 straight line. I left clicked and dragged to this point, but now I wouldn't have to left click anything. I could just bring my cursor, my arrow, to where I want the next point to be and tap. I would have to put continuous line on there. Tap, tap, tap. And boom, just like that, I have some straight lines. So snap to grid works great for squares. Now, in a way that you cannot draw triangles in the other method, let me just show you that really quickly. Let's go to draw. You can use both of these methods in the same screen, just so you know. So I'm in draw. I'm going to turn the nodes back on. It's still at 4. I'm going to turn continuous line off and continuous and snap to grid is still on. If I were to try and draw a triangle with these nodes on, watch what it's going to do. See, it wants to snap as I'm going. Let's turn the node so you can see. That's very dramatic. So if what I'm trying to go in between these lines, it's not going to let me. It always wants to snap to these to the grid lines. But when I do this with the nodes off, it behaves very differently. I'm going to scroll out a little bit. I'm going to say draw, and I'm going to use line, and I'm not going to say continuous because I want to start this without it. If I want to draw a triangle now and say snap to grid, I can left click, and there's the top one. I can bring my pointer down to where I want the next line segment to go. Let me tap continuous first, and I tap right there, and I can bring my cursor right to there and tap again. And now I can draw a triangle. So there's no right or wrong way. You just have to pick the right method for the shapes that you want to draw. And again, you can go back and forth between these two methods. You can draw with your nodes off, and you can turn them on in the same screen. You can swap between layers to do different things with your nodes on and off. That is not hard. Let me show you that. I can bring your layers down to this. I can swap layers and say, well, what if I wanted to draw something inside of this square? And let's leave maybe I want a circle inside of the square. So let's go to arc. And if I were to start drawing now, I want to say continuous line. And if I drew a line right to here, now I want to talk about a special feature. This is a good time to do that. I've used the arc line, but I am going to now tap my space bar. Let me turn the nodes on so you can see. When I have tapped my space bar without going to any other feature or doing any other thing first, I'll show you this to you a few times, it automatically selected the last line that I drew so that I can shape that line without having to go into edit directly. So I'm going to go to draw. My nodes are on so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to just bring, because continuous line is selected, I just need to bring my pointer to where I want that line to end. I'm going to tap, and I'm going to immediately hit my space bar, and it is immediately going to select the last line that I drew so I can shape it because it automatically went to edit. This is the only time that I know of in PatternCAD that QCT will automatically go to edit for you, but then you do have to remember to go back to draw if you want to draw something else. So we have our layers that are underneath, and we have our active layer where we just did the circle. And if I wanted to merge them back, well, let's just swap them first. If I wanted to swap, because you can't undo merge. And then if I wanted to merge them together, I could merge them together. Now in Optimize, every single one of these is going to have a different line segment, a different start and stop to it. And so if I were going to try and join these, this would be a good time to decide what order I want to put them in, and then start using the Optimize feature to at least get them in the order, and then figure out a strategy to join them. I'm going to say, okay. And I think that is going to be the end of the how you draw section. The next section, we're going to be combining lots of the knowledge we used already to start editing.